Hello everybody, Pipe Man 1861 here. Well, it's a little bit warmer than I like, but it's a really pretty afternoon here. Just finished checking on the bees a little bit ago. We did lose one hive. I think I was not able to find the queen in one of them. And I think the queen had died. So that one hive kicked the bucket, which is too bad, but you know, stuff happens. The other three are doing real well though. Anyway, I'm smoking my Marksman Benchmade Dublin with some Arrowhead from Paul's Pipe Shop. And it is good stuff. I tell you, I have had a crazy week at work. First incident, story time. First incident, I had got an after hours call after we closed. We closed at 5. It was to go and rekey a business. Apparently they had to fire somebody. So they wanted the building rekeyed, so my dispatcher, Tim, said, well, come back to the shop. I was driving around. He said, come back to the shop and get the keys that the shop had cut. They were special high security keys, Medico, if that means anything to you. We can't cut those on the vans. They only cut them at the shop. So I said, all right, I'll come back and get them. So I drove back to the shop. I walk into the little warehouse area, and they have shelves up, those adjustable shelves. And each shelf has the name of a technician on it. Mine is down near the bottom in the middle. And they call them job boxes, you know, and they put together all the parts you need for a job, at least all the parts they figure you'll need, and they put them on your shelf for you, and when you come in, you look at the note attached to it, and you get it, and you go to the job. Well, there's a job box on the shelf, and I looked in it, and it had Medico keys. So I was in a hurry at that point, so I thought, oh yeah, well, these are the ones. So I grabbed the box and I jumped in the van. And I started driving. It was about a 30-minute drive up near Westchester, Ohio, which is basically Cincinnati, a suburb of Cincinnati. So I get up there, I park, and usually these after hours calls, especially this one, you don't have to call ahead to let them know you're on your way because they knew you're coming. So I didn't call. I got there, and the front door to this office was locked. But there was a garage door around the side that was open, and there was a radio playing in there, like the warehouse area. So I figured, well, I'll go back there and see where they are. So I walk around back there. Couldn't see anybody. I was kind of walking around. It was a big warehouse. There was stuff stacked up everywhere. Kind of walk around the corner, and I see an older fella laying flat on his back on the floor with his eyes closed, not moving. And I just kind of looked, and I was like, good night, I found a dead body. He looked like he's dead. So I didn't know what was going on, so I kind of cautiously approached him. I said, sir, are you okay? He kind of stirred a little bit, and he opened his eyes, and of course I thought, oh good, he's not dead, and everything's fine. He was probably just taking a nap. So I walk up to him, and I said, sir, I say it again because he hadn't answered me, sir, are you okay? And he said, no. So all the relief just kind of left me at that point, you know. I said, well, sir, do you need me to call 911? What do you need here? Well, and he said, well, no, I need help up. I can't get up. So at this point, I thought he had had a stroke because he was kind of slurring his words. A stroke or drunk, one or the other. But he didn't smell like alcohol, so I didn't know what was going on. So I helped him up, got him stood up. It took a while for him to get up. And I helped him over to his chair. He said he wanted to go and sit in his rolling office chair. So I said, all right. So we walked him over there and I set him down. Basically what was going on, he was going to have back surgery in a couple weeks, and they've had him on a new painkiller, and it wasn't reacting well with him. So he was real dizzy and real weak. So he had stumbled kind of and gotten down on the floor. He didn't hurt himself, but he didn't have the strength to get back up. So the Lord had me find him there. The Lord had me go out and do that job. Anyway, so he showed me where the locks were. I went out to rekey him, got the cylinders out of the locks, and took them back to the van. And I was getting ready to start rekeying them, and I realized the keys that I brought from the shop in that job box wouldn't even go in the locks. It's a completely different keyway. So I thought, oh great. So I walked around in front of the van there, and I was getting ready to call up Tim. And just then Tim calls me, and he says, I answered, and he said, hey Kirk, aren't you going to come in the shop and get those keys from me? He had the keys on his desk. Those keys I brought with me in that job box were for a job a couple of days in the future. So poor Tim, he had to drive he was nice. He drove all the way up to Westchester to give me the keys. And I pinned up the locks. He sent me the keying information, so I knew what pins to put in the locks. And then he showed up. I finished up the locks. He showed up. I tested the keys out. I told him to have a good evening. He said, you too. He left. Well, I got ready to put the cylinders back in the lock, so I walked up to the front office door, opened the door, and started screwing the cylinder back into it. And I heard the older fella say, hey, who's there? Not back in the office. And I said, well, it's me. I'm the locksmith. He said, oh, okay, that's right. And he said, can you come back here and help me real quick? He had fallen again. And I walked around the corner in the hallway in the office, and he was laying there against the wall, and he said, I fell again. I was trying to get my lunch out of the fridge, and I fell again. So I picked him up. I said, you need to be careful because I have to leave here in a little bit. So he said, and I said, now be careful. I'm going to go and finish putting the locks in place. I'll get you your keys. He said, all right, I'll be careful. So I walked out. I didn't know if I was going to have to pick him up again, but I went over and put the locks in, finished all that up, tested the keys. They all worked good. And then I went over, and he had made his way back to his chair. He had gotten his lunch, like a Subway sandwich, and he got back to his chair, and he was sitting there eating his sandwich. And I gave him the keys. I said, it's all finished up for you. And I said, now, are you 100% certain that you're all right? And he said, yeah, I'm all right, as long as I sit here and I'm getting some food in me. And I said, all right. Now, do you have a cell phone so you can call somebody if you need to? And he pulled it out of his shirt pocket. He said, I have it right here. So I said, all right. Well, you have a good evening, and be careful. And he said, you too. So I left. I hope he's all right. I didn't hear anything else from him. So that was the first special thing that happened this week. Second thing, and this is less crazy and more stupid. I was 2 days later That happened Tuesday night. This was Thursday afternoon. I was going to be leaving early from work. I took off an hour early, or was going to take off an hour early, so I could make a funeral. A friend of me and my wife passed away, and we were going to go to a funeral. Well, I was rekeying this doctor. It looked like a doctor's office. I'm pretty sure that's what it was originally. I was rekeying 4 external doors. The place was closing down. They were laying off everybody, and they didn't want disgruntled employees to be able to get back in. So I was rekeying the place. There was one lady there, and I was going to give her the keys. Well, I just finished rekeying the last lock and putting everything back together on the door. I had the keys in my hand, and I was going to check and make sure I locked the front door, and then I was going to give her the keys and go home and be able to get to the funeral. Well, I was walking, and you know how a lot of doctors' offices, you walk in the front door, and then there's like a little vestibule, and then you go through another door, and you're in the main entrance room with all the seats and the receptionist desk and all that. Well, there was the door that went out into the vestibule, and then you would go out to the main door outside. Well, right beside, to the left of this main door, this vestibule door, there was a big plate glass window that was exactly the dimensions of the door next to it. All right. Now, this was the cleanest glass window you will ever see in your life. Absolutely spotless. The lights were off in the building, so there was no glare on this glass. So for all intents and purposes, this thing looked like an open doorway. I had walked in and out of that door next to it 5 times before, so I have no excuse, but I was in a hurry. In that moment, that window was an open doorway, and by George, I was walking through it. And this is safety glass. It's not easy to break, all right? I was walking fast, tried to walk right through this stupid window. My forehead bounced off of this window and broke it. Spiderwebbed the entire thing. My forehead bounced off the top and shattered it. Pieces didn't fall. It was safety glass, so everything stayed together, but shattered the top of it. And when that happened, my knee jerked up hard, my left knee, and busted the bottom of it. Almost knocked me out. So I stumbled around and kind of fell back against the wall. And after the little stars and checkers left, my forehead hurt real bad, and I was just looking at the beautiful picture of the little spiderweb fractures all over this window. I still can't believe I did that. So I had the keys in one hand. I had this hand over my forehead because it hurt. I walked down to the basement, which is where that lady's office was. I handed her the keys, and I said, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I just had a stupid accident, and I broke your window. Can I bring you upstairs and show you what I did? I'll take pictures. My company will pay for it and get it fixed up for you." She was a very gracious lady. She said, all I'm worried about is, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. My head hurts, but that's all I'm worried about." And she asked me if I thought I needed to have my head examined, and I laughed. I said, "Well, that's another conversation entirely." Right after she said it, she realized what she had said. It was really funny. But anyway, I take pictures of the window. I get back in the van. I call up the shop. I am blessed to have worked with a lot of people that have an exceptionally good sense of humor. Sometimes a little too good. The one lady I first told, she had to hang up on me. She was laughing so hard she couldn't talk. It's hilarious. It's because it was just so stupid. You know, most guys break windows, they hit it with a hammer by accident, or they're working, hit it, something like that. I bounced my head off of it and broke it. So, So anyway, everybody that I talked to in that company, the next morning when I went in, they said, "Kirk, that is the funniest thing I ever heard. I'm glad you're all right. I've never laughed so hard in my life." They already replaced the stupid windows, so they turned out fine. But it was just not one of my prouder moments. But at least I was able to provide some comedic relief to some people, I guess. So I really hope this next week is a little less eventful than the last week. Anyway, folks, this has gone on long enough. I better let you go. I'm going to finish my pipe and enjoy this beautiful evening. This is Pipe Man 1861 saying goodbye, good luck. May the good Lord take a liking to you. I'll see you all again real soon. Thank you, folks. Happy smoking.